Hey guys, today I'm coming to you from my onesie. It's really cold and I just want to be comfortable, and it's like 5 p.m. and I was out all day, and I hope you don't mind because I just want to be comfortable and wear my onesie, and that's that. Today I want to talk about how I feed my firebelly toads. I'm going to include a clip at the end of this video where I show me actually feeding my firebelly toads, but I wanted to explain first how to do it. I personally feed them small mealworms, small crickets, and on occasion waxworms. Now, you don't want to feed waxworms too often because they're super fatty and they lack in nutrition. If you just saw my recent waxworm feeding video, you saw my frogs eating waxworms. So if you didn't see that, I'll include a link below so that you can go ahead and check that out. But in this video, I'll be feeding them crickets. And feeding them crickets and mealworms is pretty much the same because you can just let them loose in this container I'm about to show you. So I feed my frogs in this container. It's pretty bright green, and it's just a little container that I put each frog in one at a time with a bunch of crickets or mealworms and just let them go ham on their own. And sometimes they take a couple seconds to see the insects that are crawling around, but every single time they're pretty much good to go when it comes to eating, and they just eat right out of this. And ideally you want something with higher sides than this because they jump out, but oh, and no holes either, because they jump out of these holes. They're little wily creatures. So if you have any container laying around that's about this size, it'll work. If you have something a little bit bigger, that'll also work. You don't want to allow for too much space in here because then the bugs can get away from the frogs and they're not going to be in their direct line of sight, so they're not going to know to chase after them, and it's going to make feeding more difficult. So if you have a small but tall container, that's perfect. Next, I want to show how I keep my crickets. So like I said in this video, I show them eating crickets. Here's some crickets. There's a little bit of broccoli in there and some carrot that was just put in last night. It's covered in poop because if you didn't know, crickets are nasty and they poop pretty much nonstop. But here's small crickets. I buy maybe 30 or 40 at a time, and I feed about 3 each time that I feed them. So I feed them 2 to 3 times a week, and each frog gets 3 crickets, or they get 2 small mealworms, or they get 1 waxworm. It just depends on what each frog is feeling. Some frogs prefer to eat 3, some prefer to eat 2. But yeah, as you can see, they're just hanging out on a little piece of egg carton that helps them climb and get away from each other. There's a bunch of poops, which I clean out every time I get a new round of crickets in. And I just get them from the pet store because I don't need bulk crickets, which you can get online. But I don't go through that many, so I just buy them from a pet store. You want to be able to feed them things that are healthy for your animal, so you want to have a lot of greens in here and a lot of vegetables. And I personally feed all of my bugs leafy greens like turnip greens, carrots, and they also really go for oranges. You can feed them sweet potatoes, you can feed them squash. You just really want something that's healthy because you want these insects to be healthy before you give them to your animals so that they receive all those nutrients. It's called gut loading, and a lot of people don't think to gut load before they feed their insects to their animals. You can feed your frogs by leaving them in the enclosure and dropping food in if you have a mostly dirt substrate instead of all water, but I prefer an all water setup, and the only way to feed them then is to remove them, which is actually better because you can see who's eating what, and that way you can keep track of who's eating and who's not, and that's really important for measuring their health. So what I first do is I take the crickets that are on this little egg carton here and I shake it out into this container, and then once I have about, 12 to 16 in the container, then I start feeding them, and like I said, each one gets about 2 to 3. Sometimes there's some crickets left over and I just dump them back in. Every few feedings you're also going to want to dust the crickets or the mealworms or the waxworms with a calcium supplement, and I recommend Repashy Calcium Plus Vitamin A. It's a really great supplement. It comes to me vet recommended and breeder recommended, so it has a lot of positive reviews behind it. And I got it at Petco, so it's pretty accessible. It's important to recognize which frog is which for this situation because you want to know who you're feeding. So I don't take them out in any specific order, but I can recognize Mako, Asami, Bolin, and Cora from each other, so I just take out one at a time and I keep track of who I fed. So some days it starts with Mako, some days it ends with Mako. Mako's pretty difficult, so usually it ends with Mako. But anyways, I think that's all there is to say about feeding them. I'm going to include a clip right here of each frog eating so you can see how I do it. I'm going to speed it up so it doesn't take as long, and then after that, we'll come back for a closing. So I think that's all there is to say and show about how I feed my fire-bellied toads. In the future, I may have clips or videos showing them eating other things such as mealworms, but for now I think showing crickets is good enough. If you found this informational and enjoyable, please like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff, and if you want to leave a comment, I will definitely get back to you in the comment section below. I think that's it for now. I'll see you guys next time. Bye! I have some company with me here. I've got Jackson and Fruit both being a little fools. Some of our dogs are actually having health problems, so they've been really needy lately, and it's just been so pleasant. I'm just kidding, it's actually been really stressful, and our dog has to go under for a removal of a mass in his mouth on Tuesday, and our other dog has a skin infection. If you didn't know, our dogs are super old. So Fruit is 15, Zach is 10, and Sam is 11, going on 12. Jackson, come here! And Jackson's 3, so he's a little wily one. Come here. Oh, I know, it's okay. Come here. Jackson, it's okay. Shh, it's okay. Yes, that's a good boy. So he may be in this video. I don't really have much control over what he does. He's just a little spirit all on his own. I know, see? Oh, it's okay. It's okay. That's a good boy. Look how big you are. Yes, good boy. Oh, very nice. Thank you. Okay, you gonna take off? You wanna sit down next to me? Here, chew your toy. It's like having a child. Sit down. Here. So, Jackson, don't eat that. Jackson.